The first month was good. They were very welcoming. The reason why I chosen them is because they also had just one child.
Okay.
And they told me that she was 12 and going to be 13. So I thought, well, 12, I mean,
that should be easy.
She'll be my buddy,
right?
We'll be talking, we'll be chilling. Right. Even when I thought, okay, I'll just go outside to take a break, they would pass comments like, oh, if you go outside and we get corona, then you'll see. So I would have to end up going with her. They would say, yeah, if you're going outside, then you should go with her outside.
So going with her then gets you immune to corona?
Went in her room to find out she's not there. And
at what time was that?
It was around 2 a.m. And I remember I got to the boyfriend's place. I was thinking that maybe she snuck in to see her boyfriend.
Yeah.
The dad was really devastated because his son was 13 years old. So you can imagine how he was thinking, my 13-year-old son is sneaking a girl in. When he got upstairs, he checked everywhere. He couldn't find the girl. Right when he was parking close to the gate and I was coming out of the car, we saw there was a car that was like right across the street.
Yeah.
And there she was making out with very old looking guy.
This is not even funny anymore.
I was just wearing very short nightwear because I wasn't expecting anyone to barge into my room. But I was wrong because that girl ended up barging into my room. Wow. And not only did she barge into my room, she was on a video call with a group of boys. And then she started like trying to rip the blankets away from me so that she can show me to the boys that were on the call. They were like, yeah, let's see.
It's crazy.
And immediately after, one of them started saying the N-word.
Well, welcome back again, Onlyfacts podcast, and it's nice seeing you again. Every time I see you, I get a smile on my face. I don't know why. Germany, like any other countries, has different opportunities for different people from different countries to come here and either build their careers or start up their lives, as someone might define it. Well, among those, we have people who have come as volunteers. We have people who have come to Germany as expats and so on. But we also have people who have come to Germany as au pairs. And today, I'm being joined here by Mychelle. Mychelle, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we're going to talk about the au pair experience in Germany. Most people might have a clue about what we're going to talk about here because it's either they've also used the same route, passed through the same experiences and so on. And Mychelle is just going to break for us down how our experiences were in Germany and in our au pair year overall. So Mychelle, again, good having you here today. And can we please start with who you are, what are you doing, where you came from to come here? Let's start with that.
Yeah, so I'm Mychelle and I'm 25 years of age and I come from Zimbabwe. And at the moment I work in childcare, but I'm also starting my own business in hairdressing. So I am a hairdresser based on Afrocentric styles.
Wow.
So yeah, it has been a whole experience for me. I firstly came to Germany as an au pair, but I cannot believe that I am where I am
I know,
today.
Right?
Yeah.
No. At some point it feels like, oh my God, it's long ago. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How old were you by the time you came to Germany?
I was 20. I think I just turned 20 when I came. Yeah, so I was a baby.
Oh, you were still a baby.
Yeah, back then I thought, well, I got it all. I know how to do things. But now that I look back, I realized that I was really young.
I can imagine. I mean, with 20 years, So you came straight away from Zimbabwe. You learned German before there, or you just came totally green?
Actually, I did learn German in my country. Because with the program that I was doing au pair, you have to have at least A1 of the language. So I did learn A1. And around the time is also when Corona was like, there were rumors of the virus. So my visa was taking long to process. So I ended up doing A2 as well.
Oh,
yeah. So by the time I came to Germany, I had basic German.
Some basic German.
Basic.
At least somewhere. At least to buy a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
At least to ask for directions.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So so you did all that and then came to Germany. And what was your first experience when you came to Germany? Go cut you. Say it away.
Obviously, before I came, I was kind of like thinking, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to go to Europe, Also, I was thinking, how you see in the movies that everything is so developed. And how like one of my favorite movies was like, I think it's called Taxi. Obviously, this is like in New York when someone calls the cab and then the cab comes. Yeah. So this was the idea of Europe that I had,
Yeah.
And I just kind of had the idea that, yes, I would be the main character of
on the Wall Street.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I think when I came in February, so it was actually really cold.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who likes to plan ahead. So I remember that I was searching on Facebook to look for people that are already in Germany and also people that have done au pair. And I remember, actually, it was my sister that was doing that for me. And I remember that I was in contact with this girl. So I asked her about Germany. And then she was like, yeah, you know what? Germany is so cool and everything is so cheap. And so you don't need to bring any clothes.
That's what they say.
She told me to not bring any clothes. So you can imagine when I was coming out of the airport and it was cold and I was wearing just a sweater and jeans. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah.
And why Germany of all countries?
So firstly, because I would say that before I came, I didn't really do that much research when it comes to going abroad. But I just knew someone that had already come to Germany, and that was like our family doctor. He had done his studies in Germany and then he came back to my country, and I remember that he had like a German Bible in his office. So I was a very curious kid. So I remember every single time, that's the only thing I would think about. Like, why does this man have a German Bible in his... Yeah, and he would keep on telling me stories about how Germany is like, they're accepting of foreigners and all of that. And I think he was the reason why I came, because I also wanted to study medicine. Like everyone knew that ever since I was a child, I wanted to study medicine. Right. So that was the reason why I came.
Amazing. I mean, okay. So it's really funny how these petty things, in a way, define our lives. Like, in a way, I don't know, because also if I'm to recall how I even had the idea of coming to Germany, it's like these petty things that really attract me. Like, I want to go to that country. I want to make it in that country. But one thing that really caught my attention was the New York lifestyle. That's a picture that you really have in mind. Like, I'm gonna come out and everything is gonna be Hollywood. Hollywood lifestyle. Everyone's gonna be. I'm gonna be walking on the street. Everyone's like, "Hey, how are you doing? Did you have lunch today?" And so on. Yeah. In Arabia, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah,
that's crazy. But yeah, so you came here, you were received by your host family, I guess, right?
Yes, I was received by my host family. And like how you say that the New York culture, I remember that when I came here, in the airport, I was greeting everyone. I was like, Guten Tag, Guten Tag. And they were just looking at me like, oh, okay. You know how that was my first impression actually when I got outside of the plane. I was like, wow, I'm in Germany.
I know.
And I was so happy, obviously. And I was greeting everyone. And also I got a message that they were waiting for me outside. So I went outside, and when I saw them, because I had been communicating with them online, so this was my first time seeing them in person, and I went in for a hug, like a really big hug, because that's also my culture. Yeah. And I could tell that it was a bit uncomfortable for them.
Yeah,
because
I would imagine.
they're also, it was also their first impression of me. But yeah, they took me from the airport and they were living outside of Berlin.
Okay.
So I think it was 45 minutes away. It was close to Brandenburg because it's very different from Berlin. Yeah, and we drove and then we went there. I was even surprised that their houses, they actually looked very very average, I would say, as compared to maybe houses in my country, because you're told that, oh, you're going to a developed country and all of that, but they just had a normal house, like just a normal house.
Just a normal household.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the first month was good. With them. They were very welcoming. They were asking me, okay, I think you would have to drive our child to school, because when I was interviewing, I had a couple of families that I was interviewing online. So the reason why I chosen them is because they also had just one child, and she was also 12. They told me that she was 12 and going to be 13. So I thought, well, 12, I mean,
that should be easy.
She'll be my buddy, we'll be talking, like we'll be chilling. And so the first month was good. They told me, yeah, you can, if you have, because I had an international license already. So they were asking me if I can drive her around. And we went to look for like cars that maybe I could drive, like a second-hand car. And it was good. They were really willing to show me their culture and everything like that.
Amazing. So you're received, they've welcomed you. You've gotten this other picture of, oh, okay, things are not like how I thought they're going to be. So everything is starting to change. And how is it happening now from here? So now you've gotten into the reality, and how do you embrace this? So let's talk about work. You start working. How do you go around with this? Is it what you expected, or?
So initially, my contract stated that I'm supposed to be working for 5 hours a day, and it's not even considered as work because au pair is a foreign exchange program. So we have to kind of like share our cultures. So I will tell them more about my culture, show them what we eat, what we cook, and they do the same. So for that 5 hours, I'm supposed to be, we'll say, just babysitting. I'll be babysitting their child while maybe they're working around that time. And after that 5 hours, I can do whatever I want with my time. So I started noticing that initially, at first, for the first 2 months, I thought maybe it's because they want me to integrate well into the community, because we would be going from one place to another and trying to do the paperwork, because also German bureaucracy is really hectic. And I was also their first au pair, so they also had to kind of figure things out along the way with me. But in the second month, going to the third month, things were actually starting to change, because that's also when the lockdown started, because they started saying that, oh, the kids should not be coming to school anymore. We need to figure things out. And so the amount of work I was doing was slowly changing. Instead of working 5 hours, I started working, I would wake up maybe around 6 a.m. or before that to take a shower, clean my room and everything. But at 7, I should have been ready, done with the house chores, cleaning the house and everything. And I should be already waiting on this table where I should be homeschooling their child.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was really intense, because not only was my German on the A2, but she was also in the 7th class. So it meant that before I even sat down to prepare to teach her, I had to learn like the night before.
I had to learn it yourself.
Yeah, I had to learn it in English, translate it, and then find a way to explain it to her in a way that she would understand.
Wow.
So it was very complicated, and we would take breaks in between. But she also did have like some problems with concentration, which for me was okay because, you know, on my break in my country, I would do tutoring for money. It was okay. I really didn't mind. But what was really annoying for me was that I didn't have any time for myself.
That's right.
Even when I thought, okay, I'll just go outside to take a break. They would pass comments like, oh, if you go outside and we get corona, then you'll see, kind of like those kind of comments. So I would have to end up going with her. They will say, yeah, if you're going outside, then you should go with her outside.
So going with her then gets you immune to corona?
I don't know.
Okay.
But in that sense, me going with her outside kind of meant I was still working.
That's right.
So every single day for the next maybe 2 to 3 months, now I would say it would be 5 months. That's how my routine was. Okay. That I would wake up every day at 6 and then go to bed at 10.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
This is a load that you have to endure in those first few months. But so let me get this straight. You are working from Monday to Friday and have the weekends off? Or?
No, I was actually working from Monday to Sunday. So I didn't have any weekend off because even on weekend I could not go anywhere because of the lockdown.
The lockdown, that's right. Yeah.
And it's not because that I could not go anywhere. That's something that I obviously realized later on. It was just how they kind of used reverse psychology on me to say, oh, well, if you go out, then you would have to watch out because we don't want to have corona, you know, in that. So I would kind of be timid to go out because I would be thinking, well, in that case, I don't really want to go out and give the whole family corona, you know. Right. Yeah. So I would just end up staying. And on weekends, I would still be doing the same thing. It would just be homeschooling because she had a lot of like House of Gabe, like homework that I had to be helping her with.
Well, so being in this family, and then I've realized that you came here, everything was good at the beginning, but after Corona came, so it's like everything started to change.
Yeah.
Was this, did you sit with your host family and you adjust the contract terms and how your working hours would be? Did they talk to you, hey, this is something that is new for both of us, for both parties, so in a way we have to adjust in some sort of way? Did they do this?
Yeah, so actually around that time, I do remember that I had a moment where I was thinking, okay, this is getting too much. It's either there's something that is not going right in this case. So I kind of just remember asking them that, yeah, you know, I also need some time free because I noticed that even though I am doing House of Gabe with her, it's still work and it's exhausting for me because I need to be explaining to her the whole time.
Definitely.
But I remember that they just told me that you're lucky because she's a teenager. If you were going to be taking care of kids, you would have been doing more than you're actually doing. And you should be grateful that you're doing just homework. And because they told me in that way, they would also not try to tell me in a way that is aggressive, but just in a very calm way. But you know, you should just get the story here. That's how they'll just tell you like, yeah, well, no, yeah, you know, yeah, well, you know, the thing is, you are lucky that she's a teenager and all you have to do is teaching her homework and she's not a kid. So you should be grateful.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah. So, and also because I was timid, you know, I was hearing, before I came, I would hear a lot of stories about people who had been doing au pairs and stuff like that. So I didn't really know much or how to handle the situation. Yeah. So.
Wow. So Mychelle, now you're in a situation where you have to tutor as well. And this is our big adjustment for you as well. And parallel to that, you also have to do the house chores. Is this something that was already stipulated in the contract? You knew what you were coming into before you signed the contract, or is it something you did not know about?
So the contract states that you should do light housework.
Okay.
So which means like you can just like, if you're babysitting, I also believe that it was meant for kids that are younger, a little bit younger. So if maybe they have toys around the house, you just pick them up and put them where they're supposed to be once you're done playing. But I don't believe that it's meant for you to actually be doing laundry, doing dishes, cleaning around and all of that. So that's something that was very shocking, to be honest. Yeah, it was really shocking because I need to clean in the morning and I also need to clean afterwards when I'm done, because I would be done with homeschooling around maybe 7, but around close to 8 we'll be having dinner, and then I also need to go and clean up the whole place. And then go to sleep. Sometimes they would stay up to watch a movie, but then I would go to my room because I would need some time to just rest. Yeah, but I would say also that was not really a big deal for me, because me doing homeschooling with her was kind of like a challenge because I wanted to improve in the language. So that was not really bad, because I actually found that it was very interesting in the sense that I was so surprised that I could literally translate something in English, translate it back to German, and then teach someone. And she ended up having good grades.
Amazing.
Yeah, because she was in the 7th class for 3 years. She kept on repeating because she was failing. But since I started helping her with the homeschooling, she even skipped some grades.
That's amazing.
Which was like,
that's progress.
Nice.
That's progress.
So I was happy about it. But I think for me, the turning point was when the parents decided to go on vacation for a week. And when they decided to go, it meant that I was supposed to be with her. So it means that I'm working 24/7 now, because I have to make sure she eats. I have to make sure she dresses well, and goes to school and all of that. But so everything was going well, because every now and then we actually did have a good relationship with her when she didn't have tantrums. Teenagers, sometimes she can be like, I hate you.
I know.
And when she didn't have tantrums, we're actually really good. And for the next 3 days, she was fine. But one thing about me is that I have really good instincts. So I remember that one day, like during the night, I just had the feeling that I should go and check on her. When you're responsible for someone, you just have to be extra careful, You have to check if the doors are closed 3 times. So I just felt like I have to go and check just like one more time to see if the house, everything is locked. And I was even sleeping because it was around 2 a.m. Woke up, started checking the doors and everything in the kitchen. And I just felt, okay, let me just go and check in her room. Right. Went in her room to find out she's not there. And
at what time was that?
It was around 2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Yes.
Wow.
So when I realized that she's not there, I said, oh my God, the African way, like, God help me, And I still remember the sensation that I feel like my stomach was churning, because I was thinking, what if someone came and they kidnapped her and I was the only one who was responsible? Like, who do I call? Do I call the police? Do I call her parents? What do I do? So I remember I called her parents and I said that, your daughter is not here. And the parents was like, why don't you go outside and look for her? And like I said, it's not typical Berlin where if you go out at 3 a.m., there will still be people walking outside.
That's right.
It was a Dorf, like a small town where if it's 3 a.m., everyone is sleeping. It's dark outside. So I just said, okay, but what if she's not outside? Then what do I do? And then the mom was saying, maybe you should go to her boyfriend's house and check to see if she's there. So the boyfriend's house was maybe like 1.2 kilometers away. So it meant that I had to be walking around that time. And I remember I got to the boyfriend's place around 3. And then I was knocking at the door, and it was embarrassing, obviously, for me. Before I even started to knock at the door, I was thinking, oh my God, now I'm going to wake people up. Not only them, but I'll wake the neighbors up because, the intercom is ringing. And I remember the dad came down, and then he asked me, he was even shocked to see me. He said, oh, Mychelle, how can I help you? Like, is everything okay? And then I said, well, I cannot find the daughter, right? I think she's left the house, or maybe she's been kidnapped, and I don't know what to do. So I've been looking around the neighborhood, and she's nowhere to be found. So I was thinking that maybe she snuck in to see her boyfriend. The dad was really devastated because his son was 13 years old. So you can imagine how he was thinking, my 13-year-old son is sneaking a girl in, I think it was like very hard for him to process. So he said, and then he went upstairs. When he got upstairs, he checked everywhere. He couldn't find the girl. He was like, I'm a bit relieved that she's not here.
And the son was in the room.
The son was sleeping.
Okay.
He said, I'm relieved that she's not here, but I feel so bad for you now because did you walk? Like, how did you get here? I said, yes, I walked. He said, so what are you going to do? I said, at this point, I have to go to the next town, which was maybe like 2 or 3 kilometers like further, right?
Wow.
Because at this point, I cannot go back home. And then he said, okay, if you're going to go to the next town, then I'll take you. So we went into his car, and then we went to the next town. And then when we got there, we looked around because these towns are really small. So if there's someone outside, you definitely see them. So we went there, and then we came back. When we got back, he was saying, oh, Mychelle, I'm really sorry, but I think at this point you need to call the police.
Exactly.
And I don't mean to say anything, but this family is they're really not the best people to be living with. That's what he said, And then he said, if you need help or you need anything, you can always come and ask for help. But I'm very sorry that you had to go outside. You are a young lady and stuff, know. So we were parking, and I was thinking now, okay, let's call the police. I'll call the parents, and then we'll call the police at this point. And right when he was parking close to the gate and I was coming out of the car, we saw there was a car that was like right across the street. And there she was making out with a very old looking guy who looked like he's in his maybe mid-20s.
At this point, this is not even funny anymore.
No, I'm laughing because that's how
I know. But I'm like, at this point, I'm like, wow, okay, this is in that situation. It's not funny anymore because you realize that kids get out, and then they could be somewhere else. But at that point, you'd be like, hey, you could have been anywhere, but with someone way older than you, this is not funny anymore.
So I got angry, not just because she decided to sneak out when it was me who was responsible for her, but because now she's making out with an older guy. And I got angry with the guy because I was thinking, you could have just, I don't know, it's already wrong for him to be seeing a very young girl. So I started shouting at him and saying, do you know how old she is? She's just 12 years. She's going to be 13 soon, but that's not a reason for you to be making out with her. This is so wrong. I'm calling the police right now. I was trying to like make sense I couldn't even understand how this situation could play out. It just was so ridiculous to me. And I remember that the dad from the kid's boyfriend, the one who was driving me around, said, 13? She's not 13, she's 16. I said, oh, but still in my mind, I was thinking.
Okay, hold on. Who lied here about the age?
So when we were interviewing with the parents, I realized that they had not told me the truth about the child's age. They had lied to me about her age. So she was not 12. She was actually 15 going on 16. That would have been really, really important information for me because with the way she was acting, she was not acting like a 12-year-old at all.
Right.
Now that I knew that she was 16, it was kind of like an aha moment for me that, okay, it makes sense why she acts the way she acts, right? But I still didn't understand why maybe the parents knew that if they told me she was 16, I would not have agreed. Yeah. Because no one wants to babysit a grown person. Yeah. So she started having like an argument with her boyfriend's dad, because the boyfriend's dad was like, how can you cheat on my son? It was like a whole drama.
Okay.
And then she was like cursing him out. She was like, I do whatever I want with my life. Why are you even coming here? Go back to your house, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, I'm telling you right now to go in the house. And then she ended up going in the house, and then the dad was talking with the guy. I think he was telling him, yeah, at this point we might need to call the police because it's not right. I don't even know. And then the guy just left. He drove off, and then the dad you could see that he was fuming. He was angry, but he just said, you know what, Mychelle, you just have to deal with this, because she was also very disrespectful to him. And then we went back inside the house, and then she started cursing at me and shouting, why would you do that? Why would you ruin things for me? And it's always with her, it always seemed like you are in the wrong. She would never realize that she's doing anything wrong.
Teenagers.
Like, why would you ruin this moment for me?
That's
and
right.
Yeah, you're so lame, blah, blah, blah. And, I was also just coming out of my teenage years. I didn't know if I was like this with my parents. I need to do something for them, because teenagers are really hard to deal with. So that's what happened. I then ended up calling the parents and telling them they need to come back right now. Yeah. Because at this point, I'm not staying with her alone. I don't know what else she would do. And also they lied to me about her age. I need to know why. Exactly. Yeah. And then when they came back, they told me, we're sorry that we lied to you. In fact, they didn't even say we lied to you. They just said, oh, well, yeah, we didn't communicate well about the age, but it's not like it's a big deal. You are here anyways. And this au pair thing, it's not like it's easy for you to find another family. And I said, is there anything else that I need to know about her? Yeah. Because at this point I would not understand why you would not tell me something as simple as her age, but is there anything else I need to know? And then they were like, yeah, well, the thing is she's had traumatic experiences in her life from the past. So she has psychological problems. Right. Wow. And at that moment I realized, okay, it makes sense why I had to explain to her something as simple as addition from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for 12 hours, just explaining one single thing. Like when I was doing homeschooling with her, it made so much sense why she could not concentrate, because she had psychological issues, know. So they said, yeah, you know what? You're a really good person. You're a really good au pair, and we would really want you to stay with her. But after that moment, that's when all hell broke loose. Yeah. That's how I would say. So I remember that they decided to go to a different city, just like to freshen up. It's in Erfurt. Okay. And then we went there. And I remember that there was a place where there was a lot of stairs there. And then, I like to work out and, just... So I was like, yeah. And they said, this stadium is really famous and it has like 1,000 stairs and stuff. I said, wow, 1,000. So I want to get to the top. I was like, they were also saying, oh, that's nice. You should try and do it. So before I could go, she said she wanted to come too. And then I said to her, well, if you are going to come with me and you decide you want to, because I already knew how her personality was. Yeah. So I said, if you want to come with me and you decide you want to get back down, you can get back down, but I'm getting to the top. That's what our conversation was like. And then she decided that she would come. Before we were even like 20 steps up, she said she wanted to go and I should go with her. I said, look, you are not a kid. Now that I knew she was 16, I was not treating her like a kid anymore, you know. I was like, look, if you want to go back down, just go back down. I'm going up the stairs. I really need to do this, you know. And then she said, okay, I'll come with you. When we were halfway, she said the same thing. I said, well, I'm not telling you again. I'm going up. Like I said, if you want to go back down, you can go down. It's okay. You've been halfway. You've already done 500 steps, you know. If you're tired, it's fine. You can either sit here and wait for me or go back down. And she decided that she didn't want to go back down or stay. She wanted to come with me.
Okay.
So she ended up coming with me up to the top. The moment we got to the top, I was so happy because, you know, you would go from the bottom to the top with a lot of people, but just very few people would be right at the top. That's right. Yeah. So I was happy, and everyone who was up there with me, we were just smiling and looking at the view. And all of a sudden she came to me and then she gave me like a really big slap. Like a big slap.
I thought you were going to say a hug.
No. Okay. She slapped me and then she said, how dare you? Why did you force me to come up the stairs? And then I was just looking at her so shocked because, you know, after a while, I'd never been this happy, you know. I was just feeling so happy and elated that, oh, I did this, you know. And all of a sudden she starts hitting me. And there was a woman that was there. And then the woman came immediately. She was like, what are you doing? Yeah. You don't hit people like that, you know. And obviously in my mind, I was thinking, should I hit back? But this is not the way that I was raised. Naturally, I'm a very calm person. So I do not resort to violence. Right. But in that moment, I also thought maybe I should slap her back, you know. But I was just like, okay, it's fine. The lady was so angry. And then she said, no, you don't do this. This is so wrong. And the lady was trying to ask me some questions because this girl, she would be 16. But if you're looking at her, she would even look older. Yeah. So she was asking, she was so concerned. Is everything okay? Like, where are you coming from? Like, are you just the two of you? Like, why is she eating you? She was really angry and she was trying to call the police at that point. Okay. So I said, no, it's fine. It's okay. Let's just go down. Her parents are just down there and I will go and talk to the parents. Right. Yeah. She said, well, I don't think this is a healthy situation for you to be in. Even if she is a child, no one should be hitting you at all. No. Right. And then I went down. Like when we got down, I went to the parents and I had teary eyes because I thought that, okay, since she hit me, maybe the parents would understand. So I went to the parents and then I said to them, well, she was just hitting me, you know, and I don't understand why she was hitting me. They were like, yeah, like we told you, she has psychological problems, so you have to understand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because I mean, this is now you've everything has unfolded different. You've seen the person you've been taking care of is actually not 13 but 16. Yeah. There's been a breach of the contract as well. You're doing a parent role, in other words, right now. With all this going on, did you talk to anyone, or did you in a way have someone to talk to help you go through this, or did you report this situation in a way to anyone? Yeah, so as time went on, it started becoming worse and worse. There are other things that happened with time with this family, but I tried reaching out to my family, obviously, like my family at home. I was just like, well, I think I was not as transparent as I could have been, but it's because I'm thousands of kilometers away from home and I didn't want to stress them out. But I did communicate that things were really difficult. And if it was possible, I think I would have wanted to go back home. But like I said, people do romanticize moving abroad. They think that when you come abroad, and you know, as Africans, we have this problem where immediately when you start earning in euros or US dollars, you start
converting it to your own currency. We're like, wow, I'm rich,
Build a house right now.
Yeah.
Buy a yacht.
Yeah. So obviously, as well as people who are at home, when they hear that you're getting a certain amount of money, even if it's not enough, they are thinking, well, maybe you should just not give up, you're almost there, And this is the advice I would get from people that, things are hard. Nothing is easy. Just hang in there. It's also because they didn't know the whole situation that was unraveling.
But you're almost there. Where?
I don't know, to the top where you want to go, I guess.
Where is the top in this situation? Because honestly, it's very devastating. And I don't see any top there.
Yeah,
true. This is crazy. Please go on.
Yeah. So, at that point, I was thinking, I really cannot go to my family for the sake of me trying to protect them. I really cannot go to them and tell them this is what's happening. But I also didn't have friends, people that I could call close friends here in Germany since I came on my own. So at that time, I was alone. But however, the way that I came to Germany was through an agency. I did not just come, go online and look for au pair. I did come professionally with an au pair agency. So I was having second thoughts on writing them because in my own perspective, I was thinking that maybe I'm not doing this au pair thing right because I've always been the kind of person that before I start pointing fingers at other people, I start trying to reflect on how can I do this better?
That's right.
Can I still work on this or not? So I just said, okay, let me at least just give this family 6 months. And if it doesn't go well, then I will reach out to my agency and tell them. So, close to the 6th month of me being in au pair, I remember that it was around 11 p.m. and I was sleeping, in my room.
Yeah.
So, when you're in your room, you try to be as comfortable as you can.
That's right.
So I was just wearing very short nightwear because I wasn't expecting anyone to budge into my room. But I was wrong because that girl ended up budging into my room. Wow. And not only did she budge into my room, she was on a video call with a group of boys from, I don't know if it's from a school or whatever. And as she was on this call, they started saying, so the moment that I realized she was on a call, I immediately covered myself. Yeah. And then she started trying to rip the blankets away from me so that she can show the boys, she can show me to the boys that were on the call. They were like, yeah, let's see.
It's crazy.
And immediately after, one of them started saying the N-word.
Wow.
Right. And I got so angry, and then I started to tell her, you need to leave my room now. Yeah. You need to leave the room. And they were shouting. In my mind, it was so hard to process that. Am I really getting bullied by a 16-year-old?
I know. I know.
And I felt so helpless at the point because, to be honest, there's nothing that I cannot really do because another thing is I'm thinking that I am a foreigner. Yeah. I'm not from this country. You would never know what would happen. Even if I tried to retaliate or I tried to push her, you never know with the kind of person that she was, you would never know. So I just told her to leave my room. I closed the door. I locked it, but it just felt humiliating at that point.
I know.
And maybe if we go outside, she would mock me. Like I said, that I did not bring any winter clothes. So her mom had given me a jacket that I could wear for winter. So we're just walking and then she starts saying, she's wearing my grandmother's clothes, to people. And she's dirty. She smells. At first it's kind of like those things that because of how I was raised with so much love and I've been taught to be so confident in yourself. But if you're being told every single day that you are smelly, that you are ugly, and all of those things, they at some point end up get to your mind. Yeah. So it was getting too much. And there was a time when I was trying to go down the stairs and she tried to push me. Right?
No
and
way.
Then she acted as if it was just like not a big deal. And then in my mind, I was like, did she really try to push me, or did I make this up in my mind?
Yeah.
She did try to push me because I couldn't imagine that. Why is she trying to push me down the stairs?
Yeah.
You know? And I remember that I said, okay, at this point, when I got down, I said to her, you know what, this is getting out of hand.
Definitely.
At this point, I think I'm going to call the police because this is now abuse, you know? And the moment I say that, she just was shocked because I was a person that I would be so calm and then I'll say, don't do that. And that's it. But she could see that I was at my limit at this point. And she just kept quiet. And she called her parents. I went upstairs to my room and their parents called me back and they said, we need to talk. And then when we were talking, they started saying things like, I cannot even look you in the face right now. You are so disgusting to look at. So what do you think you get, what do you think you're going to accomplish by calling the police about this situation? Do you know that we can even deport you from this place? You know, they were trying to threaten me in this situation, but I was done.
I know.
Right?
I know.
And then she passed the comment that, do you know that you are actually African and you're black? And if you go to the police would not believe you anyways.
That came from the parents?
The kid. The parents were there.
So this whole thing, we're having we're having a kid that clearly expresses some behavior that shows she's mentally not well. She needs attention. She needs really therapy or whatever attention she could get. We have a kid that is practicing a defamatory language, racism in a way as well, and harassment, verbal harassment. And so where are the parents in all this? At any point did they try to get help for this kid?
I don't really know if the parents did get help, but I do know that she was going for therapy. But in terms of her treating me, how she was treating me, they didn't really care at all because she could say whatever she would say to me. They just wouldn't care. And towards the end of me, because I did contact the agency and I told them that, okay, this is the situation. This is what's happening. And my agent was really shocked that I had been able to stay with that family for 6 months. They told me that, we believe that you're a very mentally strong person because apparently they had also lied to the agency about the age and the psychological well-being of the child. And they had told me that, you know, this is not a situation that you should be in.
No.
This child should be with a professional, should be handled by a professional. So because of that, they started helping me to look for families. But around that time, I was already done. And when I had this conversation with this family and they told me that, when she had finished saying, you are African and it's three of us and it's just you, the mom went on to say, like, you know what, I really cannot even look at you right now because she says something like, can you hear what she's saying? Like, as in, she was taking a child's side. So immediately I just realized that I cannot do it, you know. So I went to my room. And when I was in my room, I just decided that, okay, I need to leave this family.
You need to leave.
Even though I had connected the agency, I had to leave.
That's crazy. So, because this story is really getting a bit emotional here because this is really traumatic what you had to go through. So for the instance of time, I want to, because there are some aspects that I think are really relevant that you should touch as well. So how do you get out of the house? And before we get to other questions, because I really have more questions here that I would want to get into. So how do you get out of the house?
So that night when we had that conversation with the family, I realized that no one is not on my side. And that comment that day, because she had a conversation with them before we had this meeting, I believe that they could have easily told her these things, you know, even though she has psychological problems, she was someone that was very capable. So her saying to me that, yeah, it's 3 against 1 and you are black and the police will take our side, it just had me thinking that this was also what the parents thought.
I mean, racism is taught.
Yeah, because they could have easily corrected her at the time, but they went on to say derogatory things to me right after she had said those things. So I knew that I was alone, and if anything was to happen to me, for sure, most likely they could have just
careless.
Yeah, careless or cover it up. Who knows? They could just say it was self-defense, you know.
So how do you get out there?
So I packed my bags.
Yeah.
I actually had a lot of things around that time, but I just took one suitcase and I left the place. House. And around that time, I believe that the family, they had taken my SIM card, actually, and I didn't have any money on me. So I just told myself, I don't know how and I don't know where I'm going. I'm just going to leave because I cannot stay in this place anymore. So I took my suitcase, went to the train station. And then when I went to the train station, I just went in without any ticket or anything. And I was just going to the Richtung Berlin Hauptbahnhof. And when I was in the train, I was so nervous because I was thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Did I make the right choice? Where am I even going? And it was now close to July. It was now in summer. And I remember while I was in the train, there was this man. He looked Turkish or German. And he came to me and then he just said, I don't know what it is, but when I look at you, I just see that you're a very kind person. I just see kindness within you. And I just want to tell you that you should remain that way. And I have daughters. He said that I have 5 daughters and one of them is your age. And I don't know what led me to come and talk to you, but whatever it is that is going on, I just want you to know that it would be okay. And he ended up giving me 20 euros.
Oh.
Yeah. And at that point, I really wanted to cry.
Okay.
Up to that point, I had not really cried, but I wanted to cry, but I did not know if I should cry. If I start crying, what if someone sees me and they decided to take advantage of me, you know? So I just say to the man, oh, thank you so much. And it really warmed my heart, actually. I could imagine how he came to me and we talked for the rest of the journey up to when I went to the train station. And he told me that, oh, you can put your suitcase in one of these lockers. I don't know what you're doing here, but if you want, you can also go around and check around Berlin, you know. So
when you get, because I want to understand, where do you go? And then, so where do you get to? Where, because you're in a train and you're not going anywhere. So where do you go and where do you find a house in the first place? Where do you get accommodation? And because I also want to look at the optimistic side of it. I want to try to look at the optimistic side of the story as well.
So this story, I don't think it only has an optimistic side because I was able to get out of this situation knowing that I am strong and trying to look at the good part of it, that even though all of these things happen to me, I'm not a victim. And it doesn't mean that every German person that I meet is evil or discriminatory. It just so happens that I met people because I have had friends that are in au pair, and some of them are Germans that did au pair in Canada and they had bad experience there. So it doesn't have anything to do with being in German or the German person. It has a lot to do with who the person is. And for me, what was important is that I do not end up being those people. From what I had seen how they were, I should not be, even if the parents were good, I should not be a passive person. So yes, when I did got in the train, I just got off at Berlin Hauptbahnhof. I didn't have anywhere to go because I also didn't have a SIM card. So I just had my WhatsApp And around that time, to be honest, I was mentally exhausted that I only wanted to leave the house.
I could imagine.
So I didn't even think about looking for a hotel or a hostel. Also, I didn't have money on me. I just had the 20 euros that the men gave me. So around that time, until when I got a WhatsApp message from my agent that they found a family and I should move in with them on Monday. I actually went on an interview with them on Saturday, and then on Monday I moved in. But until when my agent told me that I was didn't have anywhere to go.
And wow.
Yeah.
This is crazy, Mychelle, and only words with the words that I have right now, I cannot really, really imagine what you went through in that time. And I hope that you're okay right now and you really move past now. And you being here and sharing with us this is really amazing. But is there that one thing that you say, I'll be grateful for this family?
Yes. For this family, I think I would always be grateful because, our culture teaches us to be kind, cautious, and respectful. But when you get to a point where it's just negativity that you're receiving, it's easy for you to just return with negativity. But the fact that even up to the end, when afterwards they wrote me, they were saying, we miss you and all of that, I still showed them kindness. I was not saying, I say to them, if you feel guilty about the things that happened in the household when I was there and you think maybe I'll still call the police or sue you, I will not do it. I have chosen to forgive you, but I do not want anything to do with you at this point. Right. So this experience really taught me that, one, I am a kind person, and that's how I want people to recognize me. Kindness is something that is really important to me, and patience and resilience. So it's not just one thing that I learned. I think the things that have now defined me as a person right now come from that experience, actually, with that family. So, yeah.
Wow, Mychelle, I would definitely believe that has something to do with kind. But now you're out of this family. You're choosing to leave the trauma behind. You're opting for a second family. I mean, any other person would have opted to go back home. How is the second family to you now?
Oh, the second family, they are good. They were really good. And the kids, we got along so well. And that was actually one of the reasons why I realized that it had nothing to do with them being German. Because people love to say, oh, German this, German that. But at the end of the day, if you're coming to someone's country, you still need to integrate with them. Yeah. So I really, really enjoyed my experience with that family. And I still have close contact with them. We still see each other and all of that. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really positive. So Mychelle, before we wrap up this, I want to know, what should someone expect when they come to Germany to do au pair?
Okay. If someone is coming as an au pair, I would really advise someone to not romanticize coming abroad, because like how I was talking about my experience, I really romanticized coming abroad. I thought that life would be easy, but nothing in life comes easy. That's one thing that I would tell people. And I would also tell people that they should ask for help, because it's something that I didn't do. So just be open with other people, be open to ask. Even with the family that you're with, you have to realize that they are as human as you, and it's not easy to invite someone in your space.
That's right.
So we are learning from each other. So if you want to come as an au pair, you have to be very good at living with people. You also have to have firm boundaries. So know when to say no. Like if you have a contract, then it's really important that you read it, and you also always tell the people that, okay, this is already 5 minutes. I have an appointment. Even if you don't have, you know, you have to really prioritize what's written in your contract.
Yeah.
You need to do as much research as you can, not only about the family that you're going to, but the area as well. Like if it's maybe in Berlin, in the middle of Berlin, it's okay because most people speak English and you know, it's a metropolitan city, so you'll meet a lot of it's very diverse. But if you go somewhere that is close to Brandenburg, where up to the point that I was in the train, the man who gave me the 20 euros was the non-German person that I had interacted with. So that's also something. And if you're coming as au pair, culture shock is normal. It's normal to get overwhelmed, but just know that you having the courage to come to another country, it's already a really huge step, and you should not be hard on yourself. That's what I would tell.
Thank you so much. And Mychelle, lastly, one last question. What is your German favorite food or drink?
My German favorite drink is Apfelschorle. I think everyone says Apfelschorle.
Okay.
Yeah. And my German favorite food, well, I wanted to say Dona, but it's not German.
It's not German, unfortunately.
To be honest,
could be.
It's weird, but I love sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut?
Yeah,
okay.
I love to eat sauerkraut with... Actually, I do mix sauerkraut with my own traditional food. Instead of using the normal greens or cabbage that we use, I just opt for sauerkraut.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, with this story, it really continues and gets deeper and deeper. And I think, Mychelle, we should really have a second shoot about this, really, because the questions go deeper and deeper. And thanks so much for sharing this story with us.
Yeah.
And I hope you really move past this and you've managed to talk to people and clear up this in your mind. And I really applaud you for the confidence and the braveness that you've shown throughout this whole situation, and you coming out sharing it with all the people out there. I think it's really helpful to everyone out there. And of course, with sauerkraut that Mychelle has just mentioned, and Apfelschorle, we're just gonna go and have a bit of that, test a bit of that, and I'll let you know how it tastes next time I'm on the podcast. But of course, we Onlyfacts on X, we Onlyfacts on Instagram, we Onlyfacts on TikTok, we Onlyfacts on YouTube. Just like, share, hit that share button to all your friends, and let us know in the comment section about what you think. Mychelle has had our own experiences. Let us know about your experiences. And of course, at this moment, Mychelle, any last words?
Well, I would like to say that obviously this is my own experience, and all au pair experiences are different. So if someone is watching this, they should not think that this is how Germany is or whatever. It's just a personal experience. So yeah. That's all I wanted to say.
All right. And then with that, I cannot add more to it. I just wish you a lovely evening. Let's catch up in the next segment.